Are you all right, ma'am? Just resting, dear. Is there anything I can do? Bless you, child. You've a kind heart.
She emptied his account every month: groceries, rent, her sister's school fees, even the shoes she wore when she walked into another man's arms. Stick with me while I share this story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. Tebena was a simple, hardworking engineer from Enugu. He met Adiz at a harvest festival and fell deeply in love. She told him about her struggles, her late father, her poor family, and Tebena, being the caring man he was, opened his heart and his wallet. He paid her rent, her mother's hospital bills, her brother's training fees. Every time she called with a problem, he solved it with money. He never complained. He believed he was building a life with her. But Adiz was never fully present. Weekends disappeared. She was always visiting her aunt in Abuja. Her explanations were smooth, her excuses rehearsed. Tebena pushed his doubts aside because he loved her and trusted her. Then one evening, while she was on the phone in the next room, he heard everything. She was talking to a man named Chikwudera, laughing softly, telling him, "Don't worry, Tebena will send money by Friday. He never questions me." Those words broke something in Tebena that could never be repaired. He didn't shout. He didn't confront her. He went quiet, the dangerous kind of quiet. Over the next 3 weeks, he slowly stopped every transfer, one by one. When Adiz finally called, furious and confused, he simply said, "I heard everything." She begged. She explained. She threatened. He recorded all of it. He then took those recordings to her family, the same uncle who had been pressuring him about bride price. The uncle was humiliated. He confronted Chikwudera's wife. The affair collapsed publicly. Adiz lost both men in the same week. Tebena donated what would have been her bride price to a widow's fund, in her name, right in their village square. 2 years later, he married Nkemjika. Adiz sent a letter of apology. He read it once, folded it, and used it as a bookmark. He never replied. Damilare was a mechanic from Lagos with rough hands and a gentle heart. He loved Yutund completely. He paid her rent, funded her tailoring shop, and spent every spare naira building a small house in Ogbomosho, their future home, he believed. He worked overtime. He skipped meals. He borrowed from his uncle. Every brick in that house cost him something personal. But Yutund had other plans. While Damilare sacrificed, she was entertaining Biodun, a flashy trader with a tinted car who brought nothing to her life except excitement. Damilare's sister Folake warned him. He refused to listen. Then one afternoon he walked into Yutund's shop unannounced and found Biodun sitting behind the counter, eating food Damilare's money had bought, comfortable as a man who owned the place. Damilare left without a word. He sat with his uncle that evening and went through everything. That's when he discovered the deeper betrayal. Yutund had been quietly pushing him to take out more loans, always creating emergencies, always keeping him financially stretched. She was draining him on purpose to keep him too desperate to leave. He moved fast and quietly. He transferred ownership of the unfinished house to his mother's name. He canceled all financial support without warning or explanation. When Yutund arrived at his family house demanding answers, his mother met her at the door and said calmly, "The house belongs to me now. And so does my son's future." Biodun disappeared the moment the money stopped. The shop lease was in Damilare's name. That closed too. Yutund was left with nothing. Damilare finished the house and moved in 2 years later with his new wife, Temitope. He built it with his hands. He just made sure it was for the right woman. Kwabena was an accountant from Kumasi who had loved Abina since their university days. She kept him close but never committed, always warm enough to hold him, never serious enough to choose him. He paid her rent, covered her transport, handled her emergencies, and told himself her distance was because of past pain. He was patient. He was generous. He was wrong. The truth came through a voice note sent to him by mistake. A mutual friend meant to forward it to someone else. In it, Abina was laughing with a girlfriend, describing Kwabena as the responsible one I keep around when Kofi acts up. Kofi was a musician, charming, unstable, and completely unbothered about Abina's future. While Kwabena paid bills, Abina was chasing Kofi across cities, funding her own romantic delusion with Kwabena's loyalty. Kwabena sat with that voice note for a long time. Then he did something quiet and devastating. He audited himself. Over 2 years, he had given over 40,000 cedis. Rent, food, transport, emergencies that were never really emergencies. He said nothing to Abina. He simply began closing every door, one at a time. The standing order to her landlord cancelled. The shared business plan he had been funding withdrawn. When Abina eventually called asking him to cover a debt she owed one of Kofi's friends, he picked up calmly and said just 4 words. Ask Kofi about it. Then he hung up. He took the money he would have sent her and invested it with a business partner. The venture grew quickly. Kofi moved on to another woman. Abina, financially exposed and humiliated when the voice note story spread through their circle, reached out to Kwabena to reconcile. He was polite. He was distant. He was engaged to Akojua, a woman who had never once asked him for anything. Saifo was a schoolteacher from Durban who went without new shoes for 2 years so Zanil could have a catering business. He ate plain rice on many evenings so she could eat well. He loved her quietly and sacrificed loudly, though nobody saw the sacrifice except him. Zanil accepted everything he gave and spent her Sundays at Lungelo's estate, a property developer who offered her the lifestyle Saifo couldn't match. The whole community knew before Saifo did. A parent of one of his students finally pulled him aside after a school event and told him gently what everyone had been whispering. Saifo didn't explode. He drove past Lungelo's estate on a Sunday and saw Zanil's car parked outside with his own eyes. He sat in his own vehicle for 20 minutes, staring at it. Then he drove home in silence and wrote down every rand he had spent on her. The number shocked him deeply. He moved carefully. He contacted the supplier he had been paying on Zanil's behalf for her catering business and canceled the account quietly. He informed her landlord, his own cousin, that he would no longer cover her rent. He told no one else. He simply stopped, like a river that decides one day to change its course. Zanil's world unraveled slowly, and she didn't even know where the threads were being pulled. Lungelo had no interest in taking on her financial problems. He had only wanted convenience. The catering business collapsed without the supplier. When Zanil came to Saifo crying, he looked at her without anger and said, "You should have asked Lungelo." Then he closed the door. That year he won a provincial teaching award. He celebrated with his family. Zanil was not there. Florence wore a dress that cost more than Adana had earned in 8 years. 3 days after the wedding, Adana's friend Chioma called. "Ada, are you sitting down?" The screenshot came through. Dr. Chuka Woody weds Florence. Photos of Chuka in a wedding suit, kissing a woman in white. Date, 3 days ago. Adana called his old number. Disconnected. She called the hospital, her voice shaking so badly she could barely form words. "I'm sorry," said the voice on the other end. "Dr. Chuka is on his honeymoon. He'll be back in 2 weeks. Can I take a message?" Honeymoon. She collapsed on the floor. 8 years. 3 jobs. Every sacrifice. Every promise. Every I love you, Ada. Just wait for me. I'll marry you the day I graduate. All of it. Every single word. Lies. 1 week later, she finally reached him. Dr. Chuka speaking. That voice. Ice through her veins. "Chuka. It's me." Silence. Then cold and distant like she was a stranger. "Adana. Why? Please just tell me why. I moved on. You should too. 8 years, Chuka. I worked 3 jobs. I sent you money I didn't even have. I waited. I gave up my own education. I gave you everything. I didn't ask you to do that." Those 6 words. She felt something inside her go completely silent. "You promised to marry me. We were kids when we said those things. I'm a different person now. I need someone who fits my life. And what about everything I gave up? My education. My opportunities. 8 years of my life. Adana, I'm sorry you feel that way. But my wife is calling. I have to go." He hung up. She threw her phone across the room. She heard it shatter against the wall. She collapsed to the floor, her body heaving with sobs that seemed to tear her apart from the inside. "I have nothing," she screamed to her empty room. 8 years gone. I could have gone to school. I could have started a business. I could have built my own life. And I threw it all away for him. That night, in her darkest moment, she whispered to no one, "What's the point? I'm 30 years old with nothing." Emeka came every day. He didn't try to fix anything. He didn't offer speeches or solutions. He just sat with her in the darkness, brought food, and stayed until she ate. After 2 weeks, he finally spoke quietly. "What Chuka did was wrong. It was cruel. He used your love as a ladder and kicked you off the moment he reached the top. He stole 8 years of your life. You have every right to be broken right now." He paused. "But Adana, you are 30, not 80. And the woman who worked 3 jobs simultaneously for 8 years is still sitting right here. That strength didn't leave when he did. He told her about his import business. He told her he needed a branch manager, someone honest, hardworking, dedicated. Someone exactly like her. He would pay her fairly and sponsor her through night school, so she could finish her degree. Not out of pity, he said. Because he saw her value. Something Chuka had been too small to see. She looked in the cracked mirror across the room. Broken. Lost. Empty. But somewhere beneath the brokenness, something stirred. A tiny spark. I can stay broken, she thought. Or I can rebuild. Not for him. For me. Okay, she said quietly. I'll try. The first months were agony. She worked while still heartbroken, still crying herself to sleep most nights. But having purpose, having work that was building her own future instead of someone else's, slowly began to heal something deep inside her. Month 2, she laughed at a colleague's joke. The first real laugh in 60 days. Month 3, she went a whole day without crying. Month 5, her first full paycheck that belonged entirely to her. She stared at it and wept, but this time from relief. Month 6, she looked in the mirror and saw someone new. Not the girl who had waited. Someone stronger. 1 year after the worst day of her life, Adana stood in her office holding her business degree certificate. She had graduated top of her class. The company's revenue had doubled under her management. She had savings, real savings, for the first time. And she had something even more valuable. She had herself back. One evening, Emeka asked her to stay behind after work. His voice was nervous in a way she had never heard before. Adana, I've loved you since the day I met you at that market stall. But you belonged to someone else, so I stayed quiet. I watched you sacrifice everything for a man who didn't deserve you. He met her eyes. I'm not asking you to love me back right now. I just need you to know that you deserve to be someone's first choice. Not a backup plan. Not a consolation. Someone's first choice every single day. And when you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'm here. For 8 years, she had begged for Chuka's attention. For Emeka, she had done nothing but exist. And he had chosen her every single day without saying a word. Something shifted in her heart that she hadn't felt in a very long time. I'm still healing, she told him honestly. I don't know if I can love anyone properly yet. I know, he said gently. I'm not asking you to rush. I'm just asking you to know that I see all of you, and I choose you. It was the first time in her life someone had chosen her without conditions. Without a transaction attached. 2 years after the betrayal, her phone rang. Unknown number. Something made her answer. Ada. It's me. It's Chuka. Florence had left him. The clinic had been taken back by her family. His reputation was damaged. He was alone. I made the worst mistake of my life. I lost everything. And I realized I lost you, the only person who ever truly loved me. Ada, please. Can we start over? Adana was quiet for a long moment. Then, calmly and clearly, she spoke. You didn't make a mistake, Chuka. You made a choice. You chose wealth over loyalty. You chose status over love. You knew exactly what I had sacrificed for you, and you chose Florence anyway. Now that your choice has consequences, you want to come back. No. Ada, please. I love you. I never stopped. You never loved me. You loved what I gave you. My money. My support. My blind devotion. And when you had nothing left to take, you threw me away. That is not love. That is use. She paused, and her voice softened, not with grief, but with something that had taken 2 full years to grow. I forgive you, Chuka. Not for you. For me. So I can close this chapter and never look back. Forgiveness doesn't mean I'm coming back. It just means I'm done letting what you did control my life. Goodbye. She hung up. Her hands were shaking. But not from pain. From power. From closure. 6 months later, Adana married Emeka. A simple ceremony. People who genuinely loved them. She wore a dress she bought with her own money from her own job. She walked down the aisle as a successful, educated, independent woman. And as herself. 3 years later, she owns her own import business. She and Emeka have 2 children. She mentors young women and tells them her story without shame or bitterness, only truth. And the lesson she leaves them with is always the same. Your love is not a ladder for someone else to climb. Your sacrifice is not a down payment on someone's gratitude. You deserve to be chosen, not tolerated, not used, not made to wait forever. And if someone shows you they will sacrifice you the moment something better comes along, believe them. Then rebuild so completely, so quietly, so powerfully, that when they return with regret in their hands, you can smile and say, "No, thank you. I have already upgraded."